I'm Reggie Steele.
Never changed my name, but I'll do it now.
It's all right. All right. So, hi everyone. Welcome to DGG Presents Veil of the Void. We're excited for this one. This is a little sci-fi fantasy adventure. We haven't done that towards genre yet, so we're real excited for this. We're joined by George again, aka Reggie Steele, apparently. And you see Don down at the bottom, and then Trever, who is the creator, one of the creators.
I'm the creator, yeah.
The creator, okay. The creator of the game we're going to play today. So we're going to toss it to Trever for a sec to kind of plug the socials, and then we're going to have you do a little history about your influence, why you created the game.
For sure.
Then we'll probably throw a few questions, and if any questions that look really awesome pop up in the chat, I'll probably throw those at you too.
Perfect.
All right, so yeah, take us there. Tell us who you are, what you do, and your socials first, and then we'll dive into the history.
Perfect. Well, like you said, I am Trever. I'm the author and creator of Veil of the Void. I'm also the co-author and editor, or one of the editors for our Yggdrasil expansion that's coming out shortly. Yeah, the best place you can find us, it's basically got everything you need as well as organization. We're over on our link tree, which is linktree/Veil of the Void, just like it sounds there. That gives you access to everything, but you can also go to the main website, which is www.sdgcreatives.com. Great place to, because that's where you can buy the book and everything else is on there. But the link tree is all nice and organized, so that's the one I always suggest people to go to. But
yeah. So, what was the influence behind creating this game? Like, what was the main driving factor or factors?
Good question. So, 19 years ago, I started coming up with an idea for a universe, and I was like, this would be kind of fun. And when I was, 10-year-old me was like, oh, that'd be great to go in to make a video game, because I was really into video games at the time. And then I found out I hate school. And I was like, maybe I don't want to go into designing. That's a lot of money and time that I would be spending.
Not to mention, the digital game development culture is so cutthroat and toxic.
It is. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's wild. So there was a lot of reasons where I was like, you know what? Maybe I won't do that, but I'll still keep designing. And then when I was about 14 or 15, I think my friends introduced me to, I think, Pathfinder. The first edition was what we played. And I was like, oh, this is fun. I really like tabletop games. So, 10 years later, when I was around 20, 23, 24, I think is when I started this book. I was like, you know what? I want to take that idea that I've been working on and designing for almost 20 years and make it into something that actually works. So I tried it in a bunch of different games, systems, and I was like, okay, well, it's kind of fun, but it doesn't actually let me do as much as I want. So then I was just like, you know what? It's not working anywhere else. I'm just going to make my own, dang it. And it's been quite the roller coaster of emotions and stuff like that. But, testing it and getting it all done and then just presenting it to people and seeing how much every single person has just loved it has been the absolute best, because I was selfish. I wrote it for myself because I wanted to create something I would enjoy.
I feel that deep in my soul.
Yeah, exactly. And so I was like, I want to make something I'm going to enjoy. And then now more people have been able to enjoy it as well. And it's been great. So that's kind of where the inspiration, it's a very long-winded story.
We've had longer-winded, and if I get going on something, or if we get Dawn on a rant, we can do that too. So you're doing great. That's not even long-winded at all.
I could talk for 8 hours on this book, and that's just the beginning. So I get you.
I'm a theater kid.
Oh, perfect.
Yep.
So something you mentioned while we were chatting before we went live too was we were talking a little bit about accessibility. And you mentioned something about what you did with the PDF and the rule book to kind of help with that.
Yeah. So as we were talking beforehand, I'm a huge fan of accessibility. I think it's something that more games need to consider just in general, is trying to reach out, make something as easy to understand, but also still, complex so that they can start diving into something more. And so I really tried with the PDF, especially as well as the core rulebook itself. I have a very detailed, broken down table of contents, and then inside some of the more complex chapters, I have a chapter content that lets you know what page everything's located on. The whole, first 3 chapters, which are all, rules focused, are color coded so that you know which ones you actually need to try to remember. And all the other ones that nobody's going to remember unless you actually need them. I don't even remember them. I wrote this book. So, but the PDF, I went out and I made sure to add bookmarks for every chapter. And then I broke down those bookmarks even more for like species, so you can find every species instantly. You can find every class, every specialization instantly. Everything in the book is hyperlinked. I took a lot of time to figure out how to format this book to be the best. Also to be easy to read, because I managed the background color. It's not just white, it's actually a slight off-white, which is actually easier to read. And then I also did for the 3D, or for the printing of the book, it is a 13-point font, which most books don't do, but it's a 13-point font with none of the curly Q designs, so that it's actually super simplistic to read. Because having minor dyslexia myself, very important that I don't just confuse everything as I look at it.
Yeah,
and that's just the rule book. I also took a lot of time. I even had some people with like heavy dyslexia look over the character sheets and give me points on how to design it better. So I try everything I can to make it as accessible as possible as a solo creator.
Oh, that's awesome. The slightly larger font and simplicity of it are not things a lot of people really think about.
No.
But if you look at it compared side by side or read something, you notice it.
Yeah.
And like, I used to think the larger font was not a big deal, but now I'm like, okay, if you can read it a lot easier, you're not having to focus as hard, especially when you're reading a rule book or something, not like a novel. It's a lot. Yeah. It's just a lot better.
It is. It's. I tried everything in my power. I can't. So Veil of the Void, the first edition came out originally. That was the first copy, and that was like the first Kickstarter. That was the minor amount I could do. With the 12,000 that I earned for it. So I did everything I could, within my power to do it, and then I improved over a few years, taking people's feedback. I dove deep and took night courses to learn how to format and write better. I took all sorts of editing advice from my co-author and my editor, and I learned everything, studied those, took a few months to deeply study and figure out why my writing wasn't as good as it should have been. And then I was like, let's do Reforged now. And finally brought Reforged to where I wanted it to be. I even spent 2 months redesigning one chapter and breaking it up so that it flows evenly. And then I broke that chapter into 2 and 3 so that they flows even better. And so now as you read chapter 2, every rule as you go into the chapter references a rule you already know. So it's very that took a lot of time, and I'm pretty sure that's why I was starting to go bald for a little bit. The stress of figuring this out.
Yeah.
But it was so important to me and to make it easier for people to understand. So I'm glad I took the time, and Reforged is exactly where I wanted it to be. And I'm so happy and grateful for every single person that wanted to back it, to help me actually make it. And making a whole book for under $20,000, not too bad.
Yeah, that's awesome.
No, that's really awesome. I mean, you really put in the extra time, and what you explaining what you've like the night classes and everything else, like me backtracking and like thinking about what I read already at this point, I can see that.
Yeah,
because yes, there's a lot of pages, so don't let that intimidate you, anybody out there. It's like half the pages or maybe more for like the person running the game. So, but yeah, it is an easy read. Like it just it does this kind of flow. It was easy to read. I wasn't like struggling to understand or having to go back and reread something. Maybe I would have to go back and reference something else I read a few times.
Yeah.
But it wasn't because I didn't understand it. It's like, wait, okay, so this ties to this, and I would just do that. But that's kind of a me thing to make sure I understand things.
And that's perfectly understandable. You got to do whatever you can to make it as easy to understand as you can. I just try to make it as generically easy to understand as possible.
I think you did a pretty good job from my experience. Now, George, you've read more of this than Dawn and I have, because you really dove in. You got really excited for the sci-fi fantasy aspect. So what are your comments on kind of like the flow and the readability and everything?
Oh, it flows really well. It's really nice. I love how everything is like explained. I'm also one that really likes art, and the artwork in this book is beautiful. Like it is gorgeous. I love it all.
I'm a huge fan of my artist. Like I went through about 60, 70 different artists until I found one that I was like, ooh, this person does a digital paint style and he does sci fantasy combo. I'm like, okay, let me reach out to him. And man, we've grown in such a good relationship. Like anytime I ask for something, he immediately puts down anything else he's doing. He's like, here you go. Because he always tells me this is his second favorite project to work on other than his own. So nice. I'm always like, perfect.
That's awesome.
Big praise right there from somebody else.
I also like that. So with the spells for each class, like the spell specific, like the class specific spells are in the same place that the classes are. You don't have to flip back and forth referencing everything.
That always drove me nuts. I was like, no, I don't need a whole spell book in the back. Dang it. If my class could only use these ones and nobody it drove me bonkers.
Mainstream companies, are you listening?
Right?
Make our lives easier, please.
Yeah. And then even more fun is like, so each of the unique classes and realms are under their classes, like you said, but then any class can use any of those magics as long as they don't have the asterisk next to it. So if you want to do something that's not in your class and learn magic, even as like a field knight, which is like all melee, they don't do really any magic or anything, you can still learn magic easily in this game. You don't have to be a magic caster class as a base to learn it. And so you have access to, I think everybody has access in the game to 85 or 90 non-unique spells, and then the other 60 are unique for the different classes. But yeah, there's a ton of options if you want to be magic but don't want to be magic class and stuff like that. So I'm glad you like that. I'm glad you noticed it.
And it's color coded and right.
I'm so happy someone noticed.
So something else I'm going to jump to right now is, it sounds like a lot of this was, you did a lot of research, a lot of studying, a lot of editing, but also you got a lot of feedback.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I did, for Reforged, not for the first edition. The first edition, I was just like, okay, I can't get anybody to test this except for like my small beta, alpha testing group, which they helped me do everything. I spent long nights in my room just rolling dice and, pretending to create scenarios to figure it out. But people loved the first edition so much that it started growing in, a community. And so people finally started, thank God, GMs finally started coming in, and I was able to get their perspective, because I got a load of player perspectives, and I was like, this game is so much fun for players, but how do I make it easier for GMs, especially first time ones? And so, I started getting tons of feedback from GMs, and I'm like, okay, let me address this and make it easier. Like I added 20 pages to the GM rule book, because there is one in the book. There's a whole GM section, but I added 20 additional pages explaining everything that you could possibly need. I added a huge, like my favorite part, I added 4 pages of detailed explanations of how to build adversaries, from HP to average damage, everything. So all you have to do is quickly grab some points from there, and you can build an adversary in like no time flat. And then the combat the way to, there's no CR levels, not to throw any shade, but gosh darn it, I hate figuring those things out.
CR levels are bullshit.
Yeah, I was gonna say, and half the time they're wrong.
Right, exactly. It's like, oh, I just killed my party, but I thought I did the math right. And this one,
shadows.
In this one, all combat is done by a pure HP calculation system based on how many players they are and what level they are. Nice. And I even released a GM sheet just a few months ago now, about a month and a half ago, that all you have to do is put in how many players you have and what their level is, and it'll auto-calculate it for you. You don't even have to do any of the math now. And the GM sheet also has adversaries with their base stats, because I love throwing multiple adversaries of the same type at someone, but then it has different HP counters in that adversary stat block too, so you can keep track of all your different adversaries in one little stat block. So
that sounds wonderful.
Right? I love it. I'm using it now so much, and it's so wildly accurate. But then I would hope it would be, because I literally went through every single class and figured out all of their average damage from level 1 to 20, and then calculated that based on like average players of what they could do. So it's a very easy HP system.
Nice.
That's a lot of math.
It is a lot of math that you don't have to do.
That's the best part.
I did it for you, so you don't have to go through the absolute pain I did.
So anybody listening live or watching this later, feedback. Very important, because it can lead the creators down a rabbit hole and show them things that not that they ignored them before, but sometimes, like, I think Trever was really accurate when he was like, he didn't get a lot of feedback until he got some GMs, and then it kind of exploded, because you need somebody to see something from your perspective.
Yes.
And I always tell people, don't be afraid to be harsh but loving when you give creativity. I can't stand when someone just says that they like, I just like this rule. I'm like, when you play this game with me, I can see your face. Why don't you like it? And it took 6 months of playing with all of my friends who came to beta test this before one of them finally was like, I hate this rule. And she was like, I just didn't want to hurt your feelings. You worked so hard on this. I'm like, no, I want to make it good, dang it.
Yeah, I can't fix it if I don't know why it's broken.
I can't fix it if I don't know you hate it. Like,
feedback is to not tear into the person, but to find what needs to be fixed.
Yeah,
don't
that's why I say harsh but loving.
Yeah,
like
absolutely.
I want you to give me a harsh look at this book, but don't just be rude about it and try to tear me down and say, just tell me what you dislike and give me a potential answer why you dislike it, because that will help me way more than just saying, oh yeah, I love it.
That's the key part too, is the second part of that is, if you like something or if you dislike something, give a little bit of an explanation why.
Yep.
Yes.
Don't just be like, hey, this is awesome.
Or another
this really sucks.
Another thing that you can do is, if you're struggling to understand why a rule is in place, ask about it. Be like, hey, I don't really get why this is in the game. Can you explain it to them? Because then they can see your perspective, and maybe they can actually reflect something a little more efficient on their side. So I mean,
I was so grateful for that too.
Yeah, it's the discourse. It's not trying to be reductive. It's about adding to the conversation.
Exactly.
Creators love feedback that does the and part. I like it because I don't like it because.
Exactly.
Even if it's like, this is complete trash, as long as you say why.
Oh yeah, I've had.
They're gonna listen. They're gonna listen. Like, it might hurt their feelings initially, but they're in this to create, to make it the best thing they possibly can. So if you think it's trash, it's okay to tell them, as long as you tell them why you think it's trash.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
And I've had a lot of creators come to me and ask me about like their rule books and stuff, to see like, I really loved your rule book, would you be able to look over mine? And I'm like, sure, if I have time.
Yes, I feel that.
I have no time, but I will do my best. And then usually I'll come back and I start reading the rule book, and then the editor and creator in me is like, okay, they're going to hate me because they're going to see so much red. about what's
Yep.
wrong. But
There-
it's out of love. It's all out of love. I'm telling you, I want you to make it better.
Yeah, there are times when I'm looking through stuff and I'm like, take a deep breath, realize that
They're on here.
that it's just,
Oh yeah, don't worry. I've learned how to deal with red after my editor. I think most of my pages looked like they were bleeding.
that's when you know you have a good copy editor, though.
Oh yeah, no, she was brutal too. It's great. I loved it because she would put in questions and
What
all
does this
stuff
even mean?
right?
Yep.
And because of her, I'm so grateful to her because of that, I've learned one, how to be a better writer by studying why we should put that in there, and two, I made a better game that was easier for people to understand. And then, I mean, that started me on a whole rabbit hole of, okay, I need to put examples in here. I need to put descriptive language. I need to put everything in here that people can need, because clearly people are having questions about this. Yeah. And then whenever I would get asked a question on Twitter, I would be like, oh, why is that person asking a question? Okay, cool. Let me go to this chapter, go within a blank mind and see it from their perspective as to why they're getting confused about this. And then I would rewrite it again, usually throw that piece out, and then just completely start again. So,
tear it apart and rebuild it about 7
exactly
times.
But I loved it. I wanted to make something people could, one, find accessible, two, find fun. And Reforged has become something amazing that I don't know how it came this way, but it is. And I love everything about it, and sharing it with people too. Like, that's my favorite part.
Well, let's go ahead and let's start doing a little bit of that then. So we've got 3 kind of levels of the players here. Dawn did not have a whole lot of time, and even though Dawn is a systems nerd and loves reading stuff, he's kind of outside his comfort zone today by having not really had time to read a whole lot. But he also does like the setup for all of this, and so he's got a little less time, like day of and things, to do that.
Understandable.
George, as I said before, got really excited and dove in and read a lot. I kind of stuck mostly to the first 3 chapters.
Perfect.
So we're getting a kind of a wide array of what knowledge we have going into this to kind of help show what this is going to be like. So I don't want to say let's start with character creation unless that's really the first thing. So, I mean, you have to have a character, but is there anything else like you think's more important to start with than that?
The very most important thing for you to know is how your checks are done in this game. There's the first chapter will teach you everything you need to know about building a character. It's real quick and easy. But the rules can always look very intimidating, but there's only one really important rule. And it's exactly how you build your dice. Because if you know that, you can do every check in this game, because every single check, whether it's a virtue check, a skill check, a group check, all uses that same method. And so I'll never throw anything weird at you. I'll just say, here's the check. You just need to know how to build your dice pool and you're good to go. So it's actually not that complicated to build your dice pool. It gets a little complex, once you get to high tier, but starting at the low levels we'll be starting at, you're not going to have too much to put you into panic mode. So there's this set of things called virtues in this game, right? So think of akin to like attributes from D&D, right? So you got like your power, your vitality, your finesse, mentality, judgment, and charm. Those are the 6 that you have. They all start with 3 points in them. Okay. And then as you build your character, you can add more to them. And then that number that you get, so like let's say you add 2 points to power, and I say you need to do like a muscle skill check, which would use power. If you had 5 points in power, you start with a base of 5d6s.
Okay.
Really simple. What that number is in there is how many dice you're going to need to start with. Then moving on, if we since I was saying it was a muscle check and you chose to use power, there are these things called skills. So that's like muscle, observation, things like that. A lot of standard stuff, but a lot of different ones at the same time. But skills have what are called skill points. And you can get those through character creation. You can earn them as you play the game, which is one thing that's super fun. But all that aside, if you have 2 skill points in a skill, you add +1 bonus die to that check. So let's say you have 2 skill points in muscle. You would start with the 5 dice that you get with power. You would add +1 bonus die because you have 2 points in it. And now you have 6 dice that you're going to be rolling with. And there you go. That's everything you need to know about building your dice pool. You literally just check your skill and see what level it is, and check your virtue, and you've built your dice pool. And now you can do every single check in this game, because every check, regardless of if you're performing any skills, if you're performing any virtues, that's it. Even when flying a starship, you follow that exact same rule set. Nothing changes. So real simple. Your virtue, and then if you have 2 skill points, because none of us are going to get to the higher tier levels with this one, but if you have 2 points in there, bada bing bada boom, you get to add +1 bonus die, and then that's it. You get to build your dice pool that way. The second most important rule is dice modification, which is there's quite a few different ways to do dice modification, but one of the biggest, of course, is skill points. At level, if you have 1 skill point in ability, you get to add +1 pip to a die, meaning you can turn a 4 to a 5, a 5 to a 6, a 2 to a 3, and that's very helpful, especially because 5s and 6s are successes, 1s and 2s are failures, and 3s and 4s are neutral. So if you get +1 pip, you can turn a 4 into a success, and you might be able to succeed a check because of it. And there's a lot of different class abilities, spells, skills that allow you to change your pips. So dice modification really depends on how you build your character. But again, the base rules, knowing how to build your virtues or knowing how to build your dice pool, everything else you just kind of quick read over what your skill is and see, oh yeah, okay, so this check gives me an additional bonus die when I'm performing muscle checks. Okay, cool. So I would roll with 7 dice instead of the 6. And then that's basically about all you need to know for the rules. And then of course, like getting into combat gets a bit more complex, just because you get a critical hit system. So you can roll on a critical chart. We do have actually a really fun critical spectrum in this game. So it's never just I succeed or I fail. Sometimes you can succeed, but something bad can happen, or you can fail, but something good can happen. Or you can roll both a success and a fail at the same time if you roll with enough dice, and both a super good thing and a super bad thing happen, and all chaos breaks loose.
Nice.
So there's like a huge spectrum, and it's important to note that if you roll 5 1s or 2s on a check, it's considered to be a critical miss, but not a critical fail. It's only a critical fail if you actually don't end up succeeding the check. And there's a lot of different ways to succeed a check. Sometimes the biggest one is there's difficulty checks in this game. So like an easy, for instance, an easy check only requires you to have 2 hits, so 2 5s or 6s. So if you're rolling with 7 dice and you roll 5 1s, but you also roll 2 6s, you're a god, because that's a very highly unlikely roll. But go play the lottery, dang it. But if it did turn out that way, you would succeed the easy check, but then something bad would happen at the end because you got a critical miss added to it. So that's why being able to manipulate dice with your pips is really important. Because if you did roll those 5, let's say you rolled 4 1s and a 2, while you cannot add pips to 1s, you can to 2s, meaning you can remove that critical miss if you sacrifice some pips to do it.
That makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So there's all sorts of fun ways to like cheat the system and try to make sure you don't fail. And then as a GM, I can also make you fail stuff by giving you negatives, like making you lose bonus dice, or I can sometimes occasionally do negative pips to you if you're going against an adversary that specifies that, stuff like that. So it's kind of a back and forth, and sometimes you don't want to show your hand before you do something, like GMs can't keep track of everything, so you might want to like fool them with like a high damage thing first, but then your actual skill comes in, and you're like, okay, now you can't do your pip bonuses against me. So yeah, those are the very basic things of dice manipulation, and then knowing how to build your dice pool. And a lot of the rest of the stuff comes up as we play the game. But yeah, now that you kind of know what difficulty checks are, how to build your dice, and what your skills do, basically you know all three things that you need to actually play the game.
Gotcha.
Woo!
Pretty simple.
All right, so we have a Roll20 set up, which
Yes,
is on the
we
screen there. We have a map on there right now, but there's
Indeed.
also a character sheet. Now, I forgot to ask this before we started, but is this Roll20 character sheet? Is this something that's available to people?
Yes, so I did release all of the HTML coding that we made, as well as the CSS scripting and everything that you need online to explain how to actually implement it into your custom games.
Nice.
Unfortunately, Roll20 is the devil when it comes to trying to figure out how to get custom things on there if you're not like making above a set amount of sales percentage-wise. So getting custom character sheets on there is very difficult to do. Otherwise, I would have it on there already for everybody to use. Thankfully, though, if you have a pro subscription to them, which I do as a GM, I actually really like a lot of the stuff that they give you with the pro stuff. But if you do that, you can custom build and add any character sheets. And thankfully, you only need to do the one-time purchase, and you can make as many games as you want and copy that character sheet code in there, and they won't delete it, even if you stop doing your pro subscription. So pro tip there, if you don't want to spend the $11 a month or whatever it is.
Yeah.
So I'm working on getting the Roll20s available, but for now, I at least have it accessible to people as best I can.
Okay, so I guess next step now is creating the characters.
Yeah,
that's where we're at.
Basically,
yep.
That's the easiest part. Well, actually, that's the most complex part. In fact, building a character is far more complex than knowing the base rules, because there's so many fun things you can do with characters that building characters. I mean, I've helped some people, and we've spent 7 hours coming up with character ideas for them before they were finally like, okay, I think I'm good. Now that we've fleshed out an entire kingdom and an entire universe just with my one character backstory, I think we're good to go.
Oof. But
okay there?
Yeah.
Went down the wrong pipe.
I just want to make sure you're okay. I can't do anything if you're dying, but I want to make sure that you're okay.
I'm just home alone. Nothing bad can happen.
All right. So I know George has a really good idea of where they're going already. So we're gonna start with George.
Oh wow. Hi.
Yeah, I know.
We're
throwing you in that. So you have a character sheet on the Roll20.
Yes.
I don't think it's gonna show, but okay, yeah, we've all claimed them. I see the names on all the sheets now.
I got last pick.
So what are you creating, George? And we'll see if we need some assistance from our friendly neighborhood GM and creator here to get us on the right path.
Sounds good. So
probably.
Probably. You're not wrong. So when I read rule books, especially when it comes to tabletop RPGs, the first thing I always go look at before I even go look at rules, I go look at races, because I love a good race. That sounded wrong. Hold
Species.
Don't worry, there's species in Veil of the Void. So
yep, you're good.
But a couple of them really caught my attention when I first looked at them, which was the Reapers. And then I can't remember their name off the top of my head, but the one I chose is the Ice Vampires.
Oh, you went with the Dalkindreth. Nice.
Yeah,
the space energy vampires.
Yes. I also may or may not have been watching Ben 10 while making these characters.
Fair enough.
So I was watching the Halloween episode, and they have the vampire in that one. Yep. So I was like, I want to do that. And then I started reading the rules. I was like, okay, that makes sense. I'm going to go look at classes now. And none of them were speaking to me. And then I rolled up onto the Naturalist.
Oh, perfect.
So I thought it'd be really funny to play the character that drains everything, but is a naturalist.
You just got to naturally drain things.
Exactly. But then I read it, there's a few things like it kind of makes sense because they're all about they're kind of a balance, and that makes sense.
Yeah, no, the
does.
naturalist is all about both life and death. In fact, at level 5, well, technically level 5, one of the one that I'm referencing, one of their specializations can be taken by anyone, which is fun. But you can transform yourself literally into a walking avatar of either life or death.
Yep.
Depending on what you would like to be. So all about balance.
All about that balance.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that is what I have at this point in time.
That's a good choice.
I may have fallen asleep while reading this as well, so I don't remember everything that I read. But I've read it like 3 or 4 times. But yes.
Now, what's fun is, are you going to be theming it to where you are doing like the more naturalistic stuff? Are you going to be theming it to where everything is more ice-based? Like instead of the latching vine where you shoot out a vine, are you going to shoot out like prickly icicles that wrap around someone's chains and pull them in?
Yeah, that's kind of like it is going to be flavored with the ice, and then also, as this is spooky month, the month of the spooky, there will be horror movie references as well every now and then.
Perfect.
Also,
I'm excited.
Also COD. There's a reason we're doing a German accent.
Perfect. But yeah, what you were saying, flavor is a huge part of this game. In fact, I think the very first paragraph in chapter 1, or it may be the second paragraph, but it talks all about flavor and how you should make sure flavor dominates the rules. Because the way I designed this game, as long as you don't change what it does, like if it does 1d6 damage, as long as you don't change that damage, it can do whatever you want. And like one of the examples I gave in there at chapter 1 was, if you want it to be a naturalist, but instead of having a gun, you want it to have a little spirit animal that you throw at people that does damage. Sure, that's fine, as long as it does the same damage and has the same range. So that's one important thing as you're all designing your characters to remember is we can reflavor it if it doesn't fit. So if you like the rule but not the flavor, we can change it.
All right. So I have settled on a exiled smuggler.
Ooh, nice.
Now there's some other stuff I need to decide, obviously, because I saw some other things. I'm like working through the sheet I have over here to see what's going on, and we talked a little bit about a noble background.
Oh yes. Yeah, so there's these things called expertise. So basically, after you build your base, once you get your class and your species in mind, that's when we can do all the points distributions. But it's point distribution really simple in this game. It's a 555 rule. So the after you pick those two, each one of your virtues starts with 3 points in them. You have 5 points to distribute between all 6 of the virtues that you can do. You can only put at most 2 points through those 5 into the single virtue. So you can bring a virtue up to 5 at most before adding your species virtue if you get one. And then after that, 5 skill points. You can, same as the virtue, you can only put 2 skill points into any one skill. But if your class or species gives you a +1 bonus level, then you can add that as well to bring you above 2. And then you get 5 expertise points that you can spend on the expertise in chapter 3. And I think there are like 100 and something expertise. So that is the part that literally takes the absolute longest when building your character. Because there's so many fun expertise that can really change and diversify your character. But yeah, so real easy. Once you choose your class and species idea, 555, add whatever you get from your class and species, and there you go, your character's built.
All right.
Of course, there's a lot more to that.
Yep. I can see there is a lot more. All right. So before I throw it to Don here, I'll give him an extra minute just in case he needs it. I have no idea if he does or not, but I am going to be Captain Fritz von Tarlenheim of the of the Royal Fleet. Who's Royal Fleet? He doesn't know, or won't tell you. One of the two. We haven't figured that out yet. And Yeah, we'll go with that part for now. All right. What do you got, Don?
So, just quickly pouring through this and reading while we've all been discussing. I think I'm gonna play. I think it's called a Topican.
Yeah, the tree and flower people.
Yep. I was thinking of one that's more of like an animated, almost a fungus.
Ooh,
That's also like that's that mimic class.
Ooh, dang it, a mimic. I'm going to be hitting myself a lot.
Because I thought it'd be great to have like this spore-filled being that's kind of like, yeah, going with that mimicry kind of direction a little bit.
That's great. Now, since you're playing a fungus, are you like, because I had this happen once, are you a fungus that makes people high as a mimic and they're not really seeing illusions? They're just really up there. I have had that before, and it was adorable because it was a 2-foot tall mushroom that ran around as a mimic with a massive great chain blade, just for the funds. I don't even know if they ever used the great chain blade. I think they just wanted to have it because they liked the sound of the ding 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 ding.
Maybe not necessarily euphoric, but maybe it's a mild neurotoxin that makes people randomly say what they're thinking.
Oh, that could be fun. I like that idea.
So they just get this random bout of absolute truth in the middle of a conversation.
That's fun. I like that idea.
You, little man, are going to cause many issues.
Okay.
It's weird. Whenever I walk around, people just start telling me secrets.
Yep. I'm everybody's second best friend. I just don't get it.
And see, what's even better is you could go with something like the tavern teller, which is one of the expertise where people just talk to you more, and they're more open with you. Stuff like that. Like there's a lot of ways if you actually want to be like the source of all knowledge that you steal from people. There's lots of ways to get expertise in this game to do that.
Nice. Very cool.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Well, I like the ideas so far.
Yeah, I have spent my 5 attribute points and my 5 skill points. George, you there?
Hi. I'm working on it. I'm here. I promise.
I'm going a lot off of the name of the skill for what I'm thinking I'm going to do here. So if it ends up working, cool. If it doesn't, it doesn't.
Yeah, and a list of all the skills and what they do are on page 27 through 29. And what's really fun, because this is one of my favorite things about skills, a lot of the skills you'll see will have multiple virtues that you can use when you're performing it. So you're not bound to just one. Yes. So those letters, there's a little virtue key up at the top. It's power, finesse, vitality, mentality, judgment, charm, of course. But if you see a slash, that means you can use it with no negatives whatsoever. So like Arcanting, for instance, uses mentality, judgment, or power, whichever you would like to use. Meanwhile, something like crafting, which has the M and then the straight line, if you try to use judgment, power, or vitality in that crafting check, unless you have a really good reason why, you're going to roll with 1 auto miss, which is, I mean, it's kind of rough, but you can still do it because we all know a lot of the times building a machine literally requires percussive maintenance. So sometimes you just got to use a little force on it.
Oh yeah, it's true. It's so true.
So I really tried with these skills to allow you to be as diverse with it as you want. So there's a lot of different options. Like for instance, speechcraft, you can do mentality as well if you want to do like logical arguments instead of just charm. Intimidation, if you want to use power or vitality instead of charm, which is you don't see that often. If you're just a huge brooding force, you can decide to use the power or vitality instead of just charm. So there's a lot of fun mix and matches with the skills. And of course, what's important to know is some of the skills, you don't really need to think about this when you're doing it, but some of them, when you put extra skill points into them, you get other things. For instance, if you start the game and none of you are Arcanting users, which we do have a naturalist, but if neither of you, the other two of you, are magic users, but you want magic, if you put a single point into Arcanting, you then get spells immediately. So if you want to run that.
Is that something that, like, down the line, we probably won't get there, obviously, but like if when you gain more skill points, could you put them in Arcanting and get access to magic later? Okay, cool.
Yep. And you can earn magic by studying spells if you want throughout the campaign. So something that I love talking about because it's one of my favorite things in this game while you guys are building your character. Sorry.
Yeah.
Go for it. Go for it.
There's, even though we won't get to experience it, which is my saddest part about doing one shots, there's this thing called skill development. So you naturally level your skills as you perform checks in the game. So if you perform a check on a skill that you have 0 points in, if you roll 10 successes or fails, so regardless of your check, if you make that check, you get what's called a roll. Once you reach 10 rolls in that one, you automatically level that skill to level 1. So you learn from your mistakes or your successes up until level 3. So once you're trying to get to level 3, you actually need to start getting successes because you can only learn so much consistently from failing something nonstop, you know.
That's fair. That's realistic.
Eventually you need to learn to pull your hand out of the fire instead of leaving it in there and contemplating while it's burning. But yeah, it's so much fun because as a GM, I watch people, I take a picture of their character sheet. And then after a 1.5 year long campaign, I go back and I see, look, here's how your character diversified itself. You weren't going to be the medic, but somehow your character got 6 points in it because you're the only one willing to actually try to heal someone. So it's awesome. It's really fun. And again, like, I love magic, so I tried to make it as accessible as possible to be a mage. Like, if you want to be really good at magic and you want some unique fun stuff, you choose a magic class. But if you just want some fun magic, you can either put a point into Arcanting, or even better, you can take the spell sword ability, which allows you to enchant your blade without even you knowing magic and being able to cast it whenever you attack. Or you can take the blood magic expertise, where you can like inflict a little bit of damage on yourself to cast a spell without having to roll or perform a check. So I gave as many options as I could so that you can easily get into magic, or you can learn it as the game plays.
Okay. So on the sheet here that we're looking at, the specialization, that's a
level 5.
That's level 5. Okay.
So I was going to ask you guys if you wanted to start at level 2 or level 5. It depends on how deep you'd like to go into this. Level 5 gives you a lot of extra stuff that you're going to have to do as far as choosing specializations, because there are a couple thousand combinations of specializations in this game. Or you could just be, stick to your own class's specialization if you don't want to get customizable. So I was going to ask if you wanted to do 2 or 5.
I think 2 is probably the best route, since we're
nice
not like on a hard time crunch, but just to kind of get started and go through it. But there's part of me screaming right now that once, like,
trust me, I know.
I started in the 2nd edition D&D, played most of it 3.5 Pathfinder 1E, so I have a soft spot for that crunchiness and all those options and doing those things. But I also know how much time it can take.
Yeah, it can take a lot, especially because there's a lot of really fun specializations, and especially because with how Veil of the Void does it, anytime you level, you don't have to take your class's ability. You can take the level 2 equivalent, for instance, of any class, as long as it doesn't have a star next to it. So custom classing is what I like to call, you're not going to have to take a level 1 of another class and, you literally get to build whatever you want for your class. Or if you want the nice quick, clean option, you just take your class's level 2 and you're good to go.
Okay, so we've got our species, our classes, our level.
Yes.
So what's the next spot on the sheet we're looking at?
All right, so let me actually pull up the sheet here. I'm working on the other stuff in the background to work with it too. But yeah, so after we have all that, base HP, everybody has 12 plus their vitality number in XP or in HP. So if you don't put anything into vitality, you're just going to have the base of 15 health. And your movement is going to be based off of what your species is. Most of them, I believe, are 6, unless you want to become a 4-legged robot that runs around places. Most of the classes, none of you picked Celestia, so we don't have to worry about you being a chonky boy. Yeah, so most of your species, their traits, you'll want to look them over real fast to see if they say anything about giving you any bonus points in skills. But I think with the ones you guys chose, there shouldn't be any. Our exiled friend, you will have to look through one of the other classes if there's any, or one of the other species if there's any that interest you, because you can jack one of their abilities, one of their traits for yourself.
Let's see. I need to open this.
It depends on what you want to be. If you want to be like a human ghost, basically, then you would choose a human. If you want to be a ghost of a 4-armed Quarian, be one of them.
I was thinking probably the ghost of a human. That's kind of where I was leaning.
Well, then I would recommend one of the two. Either survivors, so that you can use this fun thing called determination more than anybody else can, because humans are freaking cheaters. Or if you want to be even more of a cheater, and once per day you can take Blessed Are We and just critically succeed a check.
I think that's the one that fits that fits the accidental success of this guy.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was picturing too.
All right, so where on the sheet are we putting that? Is this on the leveling section?
On the leveling sections, yes. On the leveling page, if you scroll down on that page too, there's expertise and traits and everything that you can need. And then since we'll be starting at level 2, you just kind of click add and click another 2, and you can just copy everything over from the PDF into the leveling systems. Or you can just do like me and put the number. That's usually all I do, is just know the page number. But yeah, so after you've gotten your virtues distributed, you also need to choose, under your species, there's an ancestral path. You get to choose one of those. And based on what you choose, it'll give you typically +1 virtue point that you can add to your virtue. And this one's not limited by the 2 points only, so it can get you an additional point into a virtue. And sometimes it'll give you bonus skill points, so that's very important to look over and choose. And it also kind of flavors your character a little bit, so that's also important to look at before you go too far beyond your species. Sorry, I'm talking quite fast.
Oh, you're fine. I just need to.
I'm trying to watch the time, and I'm like, okay, I got a lot of cover in a little bit of time.
Let's see.
It's all good.
Yeah, so each one of the species, and that's one of the things I love, especially because, like, if you have 4 people playing the same species, they can all choose a different ancestral path and all look so different and all have such different fields that they can do, even though they're all from the same species.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Mm-hmm. It really allows you to diversify your character even more, which I'm a huge fan of diversification and letting your characters be whatever you want. So I think
that's okay.
There's literally one called the vampire trait for the.
Oh yeah, yep. I didn't choose that one. I didn't go quite that far with vampire.
Did it go all the way?
No.
Never go full vampire.
Never go full vampire.
So yeah, so since you chose like exiled, for instance, you can choose the determined, difficult, contemplative, or jovial memory. And each one gives you a different bonus to a virtue. So for instance, difficult memory lets you add +1 to vitality. You gain an additional 5 HP at character creation and additional HP every level. The jovial one lets you add +1 to charm, and people are no longer terrified of your eerie glow that scares everybody to high heavens. So ancestral paths let you divide your character up even more into something you want to specialize. And sometimes they'll give you an extra expertise point. Sometimes they'll give you a bonus level. Anytime you get something that says +1 bonus level, you can always add that beyond the character creation. So you can always add +1 to 2 to make a skill point of 3 instead of a 2. So very important. There's a lot of classes. Actually, I think every class gives you +1 bonus level in something, but they don't give you a virtue. Only your species gives you the virtue.
Gotcha.
Okay.
There's a lot to look through. I know.
There is. Okay, so the ancestry path.
Yes.
That's a good place to start.
Yes.
Yes, it is. It
All right.
really is.
So
Yeah, because like right now I'm doing the Season of Autumn for mine.
Ooh, that's a fun one.
Blood of the Martyr.
Blood of the Martyr.
So I get like the Prodigy expertise.
Yeah, so that is an automatic expertise that you gain. It does not take any of your expertise points. Prodigy is really helpful because I think it helps you learn the game or learn everything that you can in this game much quicker. So it's not like, I mean, it's actually still, it's really good for a one shot if you roll a lot of checks.
We'll see.
But yeah, Prodigy is fun. Basically, when you get this expertise, you learn one of these choices, either armor, weapons, tools, or spells, at half the base required number of sessions. Or, which I would recommend since we're not going to be having sessions, you can choose a skill as well. If you do, you choose a virtue, so like either charm, mentality, judgment, whatever you're going to want to use, and all non-attack skills that use that virtue take 5 fewer rolls to level. So,
okay.
If you wanted to get it to 1 level extra, and you have 0 points in that skill, and you roll it, you would only need 5 successes to get to 1. So, it's very helpful to leveling up your stuff. And what's fun too is as your skills. Whenever you level a skill, it immediately levels up. You don't have to wait till like next session or a rest or something for your skill. You just immediately get it.
Nice.
So
That is so much easier to read now. All of a sudden, I forgot I had Roll20 in dark mode, and dark mode does not like this character sheet.
And it's so frustrating because I have to use the legacy sanitization, which is a button that you have to click because they've done something with their updated Roll20 that like messes up a lot of character sheets.
Yep.
So if I didn't have that selected, it would look even better in dark mode. But since I have to have that selected in dark mode, I'm just up a river without a boat. I don't even know why I'm in the river, but I'm there.
All right. So
I was like, why is this so hard to read? I'm going to check something. That makes so much more sense.
Yes.
So here on the Exiled, it says they start with the Resurrected expertise.
Yes. So Resurrected is great. So basically, you are a memory that came back to life of someone. You're basically a brand new creature, but when you resurrected, you gain an additional 3 negative HP before dying. So normally, once you hit 8 HP at the end of the round, your character's dead. But you can survive an additional 3 rounds, basically, as long as you don't roll incredibly horrible, or someone doesn't shoot you in the head. Usually that is a negative effect.
What?
But basically, it makes it so you are much more akin to survival. However, because you are an exile and you have resurrected, you can no longer be resurrected, and your memory can't come back. So that's the negative. Because in this game, you can only ever be resurrected once.
Nice.
Because how resurrection works in this game, it's a high-level character that has to resurrect you. There's no requirements other than the corpse isn't rotting. It makes sense. Otherwise, you get a necromancer for that one. But they resurrect you, and once you do that, everybody gets the resurrected expertise once you come back from dying. What's real cool is your soul actually traveled to the realm of the dead. And while it does, when you are resurrected, you bring a bit of that realm back with you. So you get like either weird glows like the exiled have, or you get these like crystals that are beginning to take over. So like the resurrected expertise is really fun because it's very flavorful as well, and it like gets to change
That's
your
cool.
character up a little bit, right? So yeah, you would automatically get that. If I kill you, you're just not going to die as easy. So that's basically what you need to remember.
That's very true.
Yeah.
They do. It doesn't die easy because there's the extra 5 health at starting and the extra 1d6 health per level,
which is nice. It's good to be able to outlast. Things hit really hard in this game sometimes, especially if I roll a critical hit against you. You know, sometimes everything's going perfectly fine, and then all of a sudden, oh, I'm dead.
And that was from the ancestry path I chose for being an exile. They get the extra health.
Yes, difficult memory. You also can't be affected by sleep, fear, or madness.
And so that extra 1 to vitality also adds another 1 to the starting health then as well.
Yes, indeed it does.
See, it makes sense.
Yeah, exactly.
It's laid out. I'm just like reading it off to make sure, and yeah, that's exactly where it goes. So
I tried hard to make it as easy to understand as possible. To be like, oh, okay, that's logical.
So if I'm doing this right, if I put 1 point in vitality from my point distribution, I gain 1 more point from the difficult memory. Yep. So my starting health then would be 22.
With your additional +5 that you get? Yes, that sounds right.
See, it makes sense.
Wild, right?
I know. Well, like there's a lot of games out there. It's like, okay, you do this. It's like, no, that's not quite right.
Yeah.
Because of this. And so, just I like pointing it out there and be like, hey, there you go.
Exactly. And that's why I did the everybody has the same HP, just your vitality affects it at level 1. So that nobody has to guess like, oh, what is my XP? Like it's not, your health is not based on classes until you start leveling. I wanted it to be a nice round. Everybody starts with a minimum of 15 HP, which also gives the GM some room to deal damage, which is, what I wanted as well. I didn't want someone with 5 HP to come in here and just be one hit by a chains blade. That would be unfortunate. So I tried very hard.
Well, good game, guys.
Great time.
You get cut down immediately. A new character. You're just your same character, but in an exile, just looking at your dead body. Huh? How unfortunate.
Look, a core memory.
Exactly. So yeah, HP is real easy. It only gets slightly more complex when you level up. But even then, it still kind of follows the same guideline where you always add your vitality plus whatever you either choose or roll on the dice from your class. But we'll do level up once we get the level 1 all sorted out. I don't want to overwhelm you with the level 2 just yet.
Thank you.
Okay.
No problem.
Oh, spells. That's right.
You're gonna have a little bit of extra.
I normally never play spellcasters. I forget this every now and then.
Oh, you're gonna. I'm excited to show you the magic though, because in this game there's no spells per day limit. You just slowly build up your own charge state, and it gets a little bit dangerous to cast at 12 spells. But you can never not be to the point where you can't cast magic. It just gets more deadly.
And just everything has a cooldown, which instead of instead of spell slots, it's a cooldown per turn, which is awesome.
Which makes me very happy. I like it better, especially because I have spell cards that I made. You can't get them right now. We're waiting until the next Kickstarter because I'm going to put the Yggdrasil ones in there as well. But basically, for one purchase, you're going to get like 250 spells in one little deck. And right now, you can put your dice on the cooldown trackers and the duration to keep track of how many spells you have active for like what the cooldown is, and up to 3 people can keep track of that spell as well on one card. So I'm quite excited.
So I have another question over here on my sheet. There's a total bonus dice section where the skills are.
Yes.
And 2 of those have numbers in them already. What is that
Yes.
from?
So I was going to bring that up, so thank you. That's
Okay.
perfect. Perfect segue.
I'm good at segues. That's kind of my thing.
Perfect.
I don't have the balance for them.
Whenever you make, that's funny. Whenever you,
But they're so fun.
whenever you make an attack in this game, it's the only time skills differentiate. Okay, so anytime you make an attack, either if it's a spell that has an attack listed as its difficulty, or you're trying to hit someone with a blade, or smack them with a wooden board, or backhand them, whatever you're trying to do, you always add +2 bonus dice to the roll. So that's why those are in there automatically, so you don't even have to remember it, because with this character sheet, what it does is it automatically calculates everything you need already, and all you have to do is press the button. So it's even simpler.
So on the starting items for the smuggler, it says +1 bonus level in convert and dual wielding. Is that a skill point?
Yes, +1 bonus level refers to +1 skill point. Let me pull it up here. So yes, I believe you get one in covert and dual wielding. So you would just add +1 additional skill point to that. So if you had 2 points, you could bring it to 3. If you already had 3 in there, which is very rare and unlikely, especially with what you chose, but you could get to 4 at most. So
okay. And then the abilities for the smuggler after that, is this like for level 1, is this choose one, or is this
no? You get all of those.
Okay,
you get all of those. So you start with 8 fighter points, right?
Okay. Yep.
Thankfully, because we're not going to be any higher than that. So you just start with your 8 fighter points. You can spend those points on any of the actions below, and it usually tells you exactly what they do and how many points they cost. They're real fun. You can shoot them to disarm their weapons. You can inflict the blinding condition. You can shoot below the belt and knock them prone. You can bounce your bullet across the room with trick shot, which is always fun.
Oh, I do like that idea.
Yeah. And also, you get access to all of those. So, and then of course, you get one of my wink, wink, nod, nod, nudge, nudge abilities, the shoot first ability for the smuggler. Where before combat even begins, like right as it's beginning, you just get to shoot someone because
Han Solo.
Han shot first, as we all know.
George.
Am I not supposed to mention Disney? I'm sorry.
No, I was just sad it took you that long.
I knew I was waiting. I'm not.
So yeah,
I'm not stupid. Every day.
Man, what's that like? I feel like that's me every day. I feel like I miss everything. But yeah, shoot first is a lot of fun. I was like, you know what? I have to put this in here. I'm a huge it's just a little nod to the truth.
Yep. Absolutely.
It's good. I like it.
But it's real fun, right? Right as combat begins, because you're freaking cheaters, the smugglers, you just get to shoot someone.
Okay, so now another question here on the base class smuggler, and then there's a drop down box underneath that has gunrunner, swindler, or bounty hunter.
Yes. So the gunrunner, swindler, bounty hunter, those are your specializations.
Okay.
Thankfully,
it comes at 5.
Yes, level 5.
Okay. It's just right there, though. I like it.
Yes. I tried to make sure everything is nice and easy. So yeah, those are your specializations. Some real fun specializations too. Like gunrunner is all about vehicles. Not even the tail lights. Another nod to something there, where you can just completely jump instantly and slightly damage your ship, but that's fine. You got out of there. The swindler, who's all about rogue-like tactics and being super hyper stealthy and messing with people, and then you've got your bounty hunter, who's literally just a good old bounty hunter smuggler. You can target people, set them as your favorite target, and you begin bonuses hunting them, more damage. You get bonuses to dodging their abilities because you've been tracking them for so long, all that good stuff. So Yeah, specializations are so much fun. But there's a lot. That's the issue. And if you're like me and you like customization heavily, then yeah, we're not going to start at level 5.
Yep.
Considering there's a couple thousand combos you can make based on your classes.
Okay.
With even more combos coming out next year with Yggdrasil. So
Yeah,
that'll be
I
if
need
you
to
have
be
indecision.
able to need to be able to sleep. So yeah.
So
I've
we're just
never
going to do
heard
level
of that.
2.
Sleep. Never heard of her.
What is
Yeah,
that?
sleep. I wish I could get that. I don't though.
Okay, so we got class, got
Yes.
the species, got the
You also
skill
want to
points
get
in place.
your starting weapons and armor from your
Mhm.
class,
Yes.
I do
because
have
that
that.
will also give you those. Perfect.
I
And of
saw
course,
that
you get
in.
those, and you get money too. You don't just have to choose. You get your starting items and your money. I understand. But yeah, so after you get your class and after you get all of that points distributed from level 1, if you have any
Oh,
of your
boy.
skill points, all that good stuff, then you get 5 expertise points. And now that you've gotten everything else out of the way, you can go to chapter 3. The skills and expertise. Expertise start on page 31 and they run until page 35. And there's a lot on there. I can give suggestions based on characters for optimization, or you can quick read through them and see the names and see if any of them stand out.
So is it 1 expertise point per expertise, or do some of them
Unless they say 2 points. Yeah. And if they do say
that.
unique on them as well, unique ones can only be taken at level 1 character creation. They cannot be taken at level 2, which is why I have not given you guys the extra level. So unique ones have to be taken at character creation, or they have to be earned through some sort of weird, ability or item that you get through the game.
Okay.
Yep. And there's a lot of really fun ones. In fact, it's the part that takes me the longest, and I'm the creator, because I'm like, man, all of these would be so much fun, but I only have 5 points.
Oh man, yeah, there's a lot of these. A lot of the names are like, oh, okay.
Fun sounding, right?
Yeah.
Like if you're gonna be doing a lot of ranged specialist is definitely a big one that I would recommend, because you can actually use your pistol to deflect incoming melee weapons.
I like that idea already. Yes. So are these like the level 1's abilities on the leveling tab? Is that where we put the expertise down below? Now I see it.
Yeah, below the levels there should be an expertise, and if it's not showing up where you can hit the add, sometimes it messes up because again of that.
I had to do that.
Yes, you have to sometimes switch it, and I've tried so hard. I can't tell you how much HTML and CSS programming we've had to go through to figure this out. And it's just like
it's Roll20.
Yeah, it is. Yeah,
it's the way Roll20 like loads the workers the first time. It's like, no, you don't get the button.
You don't get the button. The button's not your button. It's my button.
Yeah.
So yeah, expertise that you choose there, that honestly will probably be the part that takes you the longest, outside of choosing spells. But even then, honestly, sometimes the spells are easier to choose than the expertise.
I did my homework. I already chose the spell.
Nice.
At level 1, please correct me if I'm wrong, it's 7. 5 for my class, and then 2 of the mystic.
Yeah. Yes, okay. You are correct.
Yay! I did my homework.
Look at you.
That's the first time in forever.
5 expertise points. Gotcha.
Yep. And yeah, so you get 5 novice spells, and of course you can take those spells from any class. Since you're a naturalist, though, you're the only one that gets access to the fancy Natura spell tree. So,
which, if anyone's curious, I chose Forest's Wrath, Call of the Elements, Rejuvenation.
That's a good one to have.
Summon Beastling.
Ooh, nice.
Vine Lash. Funny enough, I chose Heat Infusion.
That's very helpful.
And See the Fate Strings.
Ooh, both of those are very good mystic spells. Good choices.
Cool.
So yeah, that is what I went with. So
Good choice. The mystic spells are hard because getting flight is always nice.
I do have a question.
Yes.
Realm of Origin for the nature spells, it says Dareth. Is that also where the mystic ones for me come from as well?
No, so Adareth Natura spells, the Natura tree is what whenever you cast a Natura spell, you'll be adding a point to it. Mystic spells do not require any charge. They actually, in the lore, the reason that is because so basically mages in this universe are kind of using fiber optic connection to pull energy from a realm and manipulate it into a spell. However, mystic spells use the energy that's been basically nullified by the void and has just kind of sat in the central realm. So mystic spells, they just have so much power that you don't really have to think about it.
Perfect. That makes sense. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. They're kind of like cantrips, but
that was what I was. That's what I was. My brain went was, oh, they're cantrips. They're not gonna cause me to add stuff up.
Yeah.
Okay.
So they don't add anything. The other one does have you add stuff, but you're never going to be to the point where you can't cast a spell. So I never was a fan of Vancian magic. I never liked being a mage and not being able to cast stuff. But I'm also not a fan of imbalance. I would like there to be danger. So
Yep, overcasting.
Yep.
Hi.
And what's
I'm a warlock main.
Oh, perfect. I'm looking forward to when you critically fail a spell and summon a massive tornado that tries to kill everybody.
Woo!
I'm excited for that.
Alright, cool.
Alright, so something else I want to revisit real quick here is being an exiled and then choosing the human race gave me something as well, right?
Yes. So you would, based on the one that you were most excited about, from the ones that I told you, you would get their, let me pull them up here. I think it is called Blessed Are We.
And that
is a trait.
Okay.
So what it does is once per day when you're performing a test of difficulty challenging, which is 6 dice needed to succeed or less, you can instantly succeed it and cause a critical success. So basically it's just I'm lucky.
And where is that at in the rulebook? Is that under human?
Yes, it is under human, page 57. It is in the bottom left corner.
Okay.
Page 57.
Control F. My favorite.
Yes, the whole PDF is searchable as well. So
Control F.
Okay.
Which makes it really useful when you know what you're looking for. There it is. I passed it again.
All right.
Hopefully I'm explaining this well enough. It's fairly self-explanatory once you kind of like start reading the classes and stuff. But
no, you're right. It 100% is. It's just there's a lot to sort through. I put Dawn didn't have time, but I put myself at a little bit of a disadvantage here too, going through this. But I'm loving what we got here. So what I'm gonna do here now. So I've got the trait, the Blessed Are We thing.
Okay, perfect. And you should have your other traits
thing that you do.
Yes.
The other traits, those are the exiled traits, correct?
Yes. So you should have 2 others, and the exiled traits are so much fun.
Okay. So that's where that's stats.
Yes.
Traits.
So it's right under stats. It goes stats, traits, ancestry past. So you gain resistance to ether and frigid damage, which is good. Very helpful. But the most fun part is you get ethereal form. So you can transform yourself and all items you're wearing into an ethereal form, allowing you to pass through adversaries, objects, and walls.
Ooh, that's cool.
And then the species remembrance, that's what that gets you the trait.
That's
something
the
else.
human one. Mm-hmm.
That's cool. I like that.
Yeah, so the form's real fun. It lasts and can be switched on and off freely for up to an hour, after which it goes to cooldown for 2 hours. But what's fun is any adversary that has the ether workings expertise actually gets bonuses to hit you while you're in that form. So basically, if people understand the occult or the dead, they're like, oh yeah, I know where he's going. Because basically, when you walk into this form, you kind of like shift in and out of reality, leaving like this phantasm effect as you walk. So you're very hard to follow and track, which is a lot of fun.
There we go. Okay, so yeah, I've got the exiled traits in there, and then under expertise, the resurrected, because that was already in here for the exiled.
You get.
I also went with noble.
Nice. Got to get your completely legitimized armada that you belong to.
Exactly. And then I also added in that range specialist because I like that idea a lot. You may end up hating me by the time we're done with this, but I put in there lucky as well.
Oh, lucky's great because it's just it doesn't do anything like mechanically wise. It's just great. I just love it.
We did another game recently where you choose traits, and I proposed to my DM that one of my traits, or GM, that I was #blessed. And just one of those people that you get in a situation like you stop milliseconds before you activate the tripwire, not because you see it, but something else stops you for some reason.
Exactly. That's always how I do it too. Because I have a friend, and I'm like, no, it's just pure dumb luck that you did not blow yourself up.
I had one friend like that in high school. I think, Don, you remember Roger, don't you?
Yep.
He was a really short guy, and we joked about it for a while about, because if you because he went in the military, it's like, don't worry, if you ever get into combat, they'll just shoot over your head. And he called me one day, and he's like, dude, it's not funny anymore.
That's funny.
Because it happens. It was a thing. It was just like a rocket or something. But, he was one of those guys that no matter, like, he got in a car wreck once, and everybody else came out with injuries. He was fine.
Yeah, there's just some people in this world that are just like dumb luck. I don't know how they do it. And then there's me. I walk a 5 foot and I'll fall forward.
Amen to that.
So see, my luck is actually, it's kind of a mix between the two. I have the worst possible outcome, but I survived through it.
Okay, so that's honestly probably
that sounds like unlucky.
Than just unluck.
Yeah, it's like. Yeah.
No, it's unluck with an asterisk.
Yeah, it's like what was it? A friend of mine was like, "We need to make we need to make a superhero around you called the Amazingly Bad because it's the worst possible thing that can happen, but you end up marginally okay."
Yeah, that's fantastic. Yeah, there's just some people I've met. Anyway, continue. We know 3 of them now.
Yep, I added on Galactic Law.
Oh, nice. You got to know the law so that you can fake it all.
Yeah, not necessarily because he just knows it and has studied it, but it just comes to him from that past life, that memory he is.
Exactly.
And so,
that
when he's doing something that's maybe people think is against the galactic law in an area, he just is able to sprout off why it's not.
Actually,
oh no, are you gonna actually us?
Hey, no, that's fair. That's fair.
According to Section Bylaw 57, I am allowed to choose you in the face because you are slightly posing in a threatening manner towards me.
There we go. a little bit of that face. And then we round out with Fateless One because I just think it fits.
We have the person who can see the fate strings and the fateless one. So the one's going to see these beautiful strands of fate everywhere, and then just this darkness.
Just this hole.
This hole in reality. What is that?
I mean, that just makes sense to me because if you being an exiled, you come back as a memory. It seems like fate's already done away with your body. Your memory is just doing something there. So
yeah, seems legit to me. See, aren't the expertise fun though? Like they really start to flesh out your character, or you even dive into a backstory. Like it just gives you so much stuff. And then for people who need assistance with backstories, none of you guys, but as a thing I like to mention for some especially newer players, I have a whole section in the beginning of the GM's chapter that asks you the 3 most important questions you need to build a character, and all these other minimal questions inside of that to help you really create your own unique character.
Nice.
So I usually hand that out to people on our first session because as a printable, so helpful, and it gives me, the GM, a ton of information to use against you. I mean, for you, not against you. I would never do that.
No.
What? I love being
So-
handed a character sheet that says my character has amnesia.
That has happened to me before, and I'm like, oh, you've done something horribly. He kept coming across people that were like, I know that mug of yours.
I've done
I
that
thought you
for
were
one
dead.
shot where you had everybody wake up with amnesia and they had to try to figure out who they were and why they
That's
were
fun.
running from the authorities.
Mm-hmm.
I like that. That's a fun idea.
Well, since Jeff shared his expertise, I shall share mine.
I'm not even there yet.
We're giving you time, Don.
Yeah. I
Yes,
went
don't
with
worry, don't feel rushed.
Born Star because I myself like singing. So if any excuse to do that, yes, we'll do that. Eyes of
Good
Shadow.
Oh, you can see in the dark.
Yes. Because, Warlock main, that's my first that's one of my go-tos. So I saw it like
very helpful.
I saw it as like, ooh, mine. Spellblade.
Ooh, nice. That's
Which
a fun one.
Which I thought would be really interesting with heat infusion.
Ooh. That could be a fun combo.
Yeah. And then I used 2 points from my because it's 5, right? Please correct me if I'm wrong.
Yes, 5 points.
I went with the last 2 and chose Super Sensory.
Ooh, what should your super sensory ability be? What should we give your character?
I honestly I had 2 things that I thought of.
Okay.
That seemed very vampire-esque. One, just the limited to telepathy. I had 1 drink.
It's a hard word to say.
Or I'm the scene out of Harry Potter where there's that guy who's just doing this and his spoon's moving, so like very limited like telekinesis.
Oh, perfect. How about both?
Okay. Well, I'm going to make note of that.
So minor telekinesis. We'll say that you can move small objects within we'll say 3 or 4 squares. And then you can communicate with people through a minor telepathy. You can't communicate to more than 1 person at a time, but
Yeah.
it is supposed to be a minor supersensory effect. But isn't that fun? Literally, an expertise can give you supersensory abilities. You don't even have to have a species or a class that does it.
That looked pretty awesome.
And people have come up with the weirdest supersensory stuff. I had a person who was like, I just want to be able to pull items out of my head. And I was like, that's weird. And he's like, well, people always tell me that I have too much space up there. So I want to be able to start storing minor objects. And I'm like, your character's a bark. Like he was just a walking tree. I was like, let's do it. That sounds fun. He's got a minor bag of holding in his head.
Nice.
That's awesome.
I think I charged him 3 skill points for that, or 3 expertise points for that, though, because it was pretty helpful.
That seems fair.
Although it was hilarious when he got really mad and he just pulled out this massive long sword. It was the funniest scene. So many good things happen in this game that I'm constantly taking notes of and being like, I need to make this into an animated series if my company ever takes off. Animated shorts of just the stupid stuff that's happened in Bale.
Oh, yeah.
One of my favorites, I was running a one-shot for a convention, and because we had it in the game, we were like, okay, so they were hunting a giant space worm that was terrorizing this planet, and it dug itself into the core of the planet. So they had to use all these things to trick it out of there. And since it was the end of the campaign, they were like, how are we going to kill this thing? We actually haven't thought this through. So they're like, oh wait, the Celestia of the party speaks up and is like, hey, so I'll probably die, but how about you take the universe antimatter within me and we make a nuclear bomb? And so they killed the Celestia, turned it into a nuclear bomb, and destroyed the planet itself on accident.
Sounds about right.
It was great, though. What a way to end a one-shot.
So, question on the damage rolls for weapon. Do all of them
Yes.
add the attribute or no?
Yes, they add
Okay.
whatever you're using to attack with them. So if you use power to attack, then you would add the power. If you use finesse, you would use finesse. If for some weird reason you get to use mentality, which actually I guess it's not weird because naturalists use judgment on some of their attacks, you would add the judgment. So any virtue you use to attack with is what you add.
Okay.
Pretty simple. Yeah, what I love. I'm a huge fan of big numbers too. So I just love seeing players roll 60 damage in an attack at like higher levels and stuff, and I'm like, this is fun. I love seeing this.
All right. I'm also gonna buy the synthetic leather medium armor instead of the starting.
Okay.
Because
Perfect.
I've got enough money for that.
The one thing that armors do is it will reduce any extra movement you get. So medium armor, I believe, reduces it by 1 square of movement.
Yep.
However, it does not affect your base movement, so you're good there.
Okay.
But yeah, so there are some negatives to taking it, but also some positives. So which I like. I like armor actually doing something.
That's a 46.
That's a lot of 6s on that 46 roll there.
Yeah, that's the money.
So on the synthetic leather, it just says that adversaries have -1 bonus die on attacks. So everybody gets a bonus, the bonus die on their attacks. We talked about that earlier, correct?
Yeah, they all get +2 bonus dice,
and so this takes one of those bonus die away.
Yep, great.
Okay.
I was already hard to hit you, and now gonna be that way again.
But people are gonna want to hit him.
Yeah.
Oh,
definitely not the mimic. Dear Lord, help me if I try to hit a mimic. Why are you hitting yourself? Why are you hitting yourself? Why'd you kill yourself? I didn't mean to. I just hit you.
So I add 3 zeros to that.
Okay.
You rich. You got a lot of money over there.
Mm-hmm.
And
wait,
a
I think you got more money than I did with less dice. You did. You got more money than I did with 2 less dice.
That's hilarious. Look at the draw. Look at the roll, I guess. Now, one thing to know while you guys are buying equipment as well, really fun. There is a proficiency system in this game, but anything you buy character creation, you're proficient with. So even if your class does not start with that proficiency, you start with it because you purchased it.
Yeah, we gotta add that.
Which is how it should be, dang it. Your character has been starting with the blade for a long time. Like,
yeah.
Sorry, I have a lot of people ask, like, oh, did you take inspirations from games? I'm like, yeah, I asked myself, what did I hate about other systems? And
Amen. Amen.
Then I was asked when I was building this, I was like, what do I hate from other systems? And then how can I make it also really fun and logical in this game so that I'm not just questioning myself on my lore? Like, how does this work?
Yeah.
And then I saw something that I just absolutely have to take now as well because I still have money left over, and that would be the gun sword.
Oh, yeah. You can't be a captain without you can't be part of the admiralty without a gun blade.
Hey Jeff,
that's just not legal.
It's chapter 6. I'm on 162 right now.
Thank you. Perfect.
And it does descend logically as well. It goes armor, melee, ranged, and then ammo, and everything else after that. So, yes, the gun sword's great because it you literally stab someone, and then you're like, and I'm going to press this button. What's fun is the way the gun swords work in this universe too. They have a sensor, so they can't be fired unless they're in something. So you have to actually stab the person. You can't just launch the bullet at someone. You actually have to stab them and then look them in the eyes. You pull that trigger and laugh maniacally.
I like it. I dig it.
Yeah, it's fun, and it just takes an extra action too. So you just hit them, and then you get an extra 5 damage that you need to deal to someone automatically. Yeah, a lot of the stuff is very expensive, but you get credits pretty quickly throughout the game.
Yeah, I think
I also had to raise the prices because the original testing, I was like, you guys shouldn't be able to afford a spaceship already. That's illegal.
What? What? I love spaceships, though.
Sure. What's fun is I'm actually about ready to release a class that gives you a mech at level 1. So and I did right. I also released Yggdrasil is going to have more in it, but we released some test documents of the new starship rules and stuff like that because I wanted to put so much more starship stuff in here because I mean we're going through space, and it's spaceships are just like classic and they're characters themselves. But I didn't want to overwhelm people with so many rules and so many complex stuff. I was just like, I'll put a really solid system in there and then I'll overwhelm them if they want to read them later.
Yeah.
Because that would have added an extra 40 pages. And that's a bit.
2100 minus 1500 is 600.
Perfect. Well, it sounds like you've got your equipment. And that all figured out. So I can tell you how to get to level 2. But whenever you guys are ready.
Where are you sitting at, Don?
Filling in stuff.
Hopefully it's not too confusing. I'm trying not to overwhelm you with information.
Nope, I'm just making sure I have it down.
Okay. I try to make it as simple as possible.
Oh yeah. No, I'm just making sure that I have all of my notes organized and things. You can keep rolling.
All right. Well, thankfully, getting to level 2, super easy. All you have to do is look at your class, and it tells you how much HP you can add based on your class. So, for instance, if we go to the Smuggler as an example, the Smuggler lets you either roll 1d6 and 1d3 and then add your vitality to your max HP, or you can just do the base 5 plus your vitality to your max HP.
Do I risk it with the way my first
That's a good question.
Went?
Do you risk it for the biscuit, or do you just take what you got?
We'll just take what I got, because I'm okay with adding 10 more without rolling.
Yeah. Right? You're not tanky at all.
So, it's not because he needs to be a tank. It's just, he's got to survive all this stuff that happens to him.
Yeah, right? But yeah, no, so you would add an extra 10 max HP and current HP, and you're good to go. And then you get 2 additional things. Every even level, you get +1 bonus skill point, and this one is not bound by the level 1 rules, so you can add it to something that's already beyond level 3. And then you get your level 2 ability, and that's it. That's all you have to do. Nothing too fancy.
That's pretty easy to do. I just need to keep it on this ability page because there's so much cool stuff I get to do here.
Oh yeah, no, smugglers are insane. They get so many fun tricks, like dirty fighting tactics that they get to use and ruin everybody's day with. Meanwhile, the naturalist just has a massive book that they just mess everyone's life up with. And then the mimics over here like, I like that. I want to do it too.
Nice.
Or mimics like, hey, you hit me. I want to do that. And then they just summon a copied illusion of the person's attack and smack them back with it. And they don't even have to spend a mimic point to do that either. It's free. They just have to use their reaction.
Oh.
Filthy mimics. Mimics are the only class I ever hear GMs complain about.
Really?
There's
Yep.
always got to be one though. Like
There's always one. They're like,
they'll
every
always
time I
find
hit the
one.
mimic, I deal so much damage to myself and barely anything to them. I'm like, well, see what you got to do.
Oh.
What you got to do is you got to hit them a lot because they can only do it once per round. Mimics are great against single targets, but are horrible against a ton of miniature ones.
That makes sense, especially after reading through this.
Yeah, mimics are the surprise tank too, because they reduce incoming damage by their judgment, and they get to do like all sorts of fancy things. They don't have to worry about armor, so they don't get any of the negatives.
Oh,
from any armor.
They're a dodge tank.
Yeah, that if you hit, you're in a world for hurt. So I think they can reflect up to 3 times their judgment in damage. I think.
Ouch.
Yeah. It used to be more before I balanced it. It used to have no limit on how much damage you could reflect until someone reflected an entire starship's damage back at it.
Oh!
And then you're like, nah, this is broken.
They died, but they were like, I'm going to set a target here. And he's like, hit me. And I rolled against better judgment of the crew, and the crew was like, nah. So they fired on him. And he's like, well, based on how your rules are written, I could just deal all this damage back. I know I'll die, but if I don't do this, we're all going to die. And let's just say that I dealt 2,000 damage to myself. The ship blew up. So yeah, now you can only do up to 3 times. Long story short. But yeah, mimics have a lot of stuff that they can do. Really fun stuff, though.
To clarify, the skill points go into like the mechanics. I had one drink.
It's fine. It's a hard word to say.
But
yes,
it goes into those. Okay, cool.
And in the character sheet, it goes to the first column whenever you're leveling the skill points.
Yes, I saw that.
And then at the top of the skills, it tells you exactly what each point in those skill points does, and you don't lose access to those. So you get, if you have 2 points in there, you get to add +1 pip to a roll, and you get +1 bonus dice. So,
okay. Nice. Well, that's pretty cool.
Yeah. Now, the only thing to know about this is if you're making the same check multiple times in a round, in the same round on your same turn, for instance, in combat, let's say you're dual wielding and you're making 2 attacks using the dual wield, you can only add pips to one of those rolls. You don't get to add that to both of them. So you kind of have to choose, when do I want to add the pip? Or when do I want to use my reroll? Because you can only reroll once per round too. So there's a little bit of limiting faction. You can't just constantly spam your pips and rerolls and all that. But
because
it's still really
balance.
Good. But yeah, it's game balance. But it does get you out of a lot of sticky situations. And as you get really good at skills, you're most likely going to succeed your check. It's only in real high pressure scenarios where I'm giving you a ton of negatives that you're probably going to fail. And that's how I wanted it to feel too. I wanted, if you're good at something, gosh darn it, I want you to be good at something. Sure, I'm rolling with 8 points in that prestige or skill on with the D&D character, but I roll a nat 1, so I just instantly fail. Doesn't matter that my character and his lore has been around for 300 years and has perfected this.
All right. I was able to go into this with no money left.
Beautiful.
I mean,
So
I could buy another harmonica.
Well, I mean, I bought a couple of grenades, a couple autofill patch, some synthetic
Did you see
skin.
the grenade belt?
I did not see the grenade belt. I don't have enough. I don't have an. Ooh, wait on. No, I don't have enough. I don't have enough for the grenade belt.
Grenade belt's great because instead of having to use an action to toss a grenade, it's an extra action. So you just kind of quick clip and throw.
And then I had to buy a pair of lockpicks.
Oh, of course.
I have 300. I mean, I could buy another harmonica.
Why stop at 1 when you could have multiple? Oh, you also get mini connections and skilled pilot, huh?
Mm-hmm.
At your level 2, if you want to take that as your level 2, of course.
Oh, do you the level 2? Do you? Oh, yeah, because you can choose to
So
do. That's
actually,
right.
in
I'm
the
gonna.
bookmark section, if you look, there says a list of non-unique abilities. That will take you to all of the non-unique abilities, so you can read the title and see if you might want to take it, and then go to that page and you can read it real fast. I tried to make custom classing as simple as possible too.
I see that now. That does. I'm gonna stick with the many connections skilled pilot just out of simplicity, but broken down by level 2. I do like this.
Yes, and broken down by specialization as well. Isn't it nice? It's got
False.
the pages on there.
It does.
I think
It makes
it's
it
even
real easy to find.
hyperlinked. Yeah, I think I even put hyperlinks in there so that you can
Yep.
just click it and it'll take you straight there.
Yep, I just did that. I was like, really? I'm gonna click on it. There it is.
I don't want to talk about how long it took to get all these hyperlinks set up, but again, I love my community, so I'll do whatever I have to for them.
Ooh, that false proficiency that the mimics get is actually real nice.
Right? Isn't it a fun one? That's why I said, like, you can quick choose your level 2s because there's not a lot of level 2s to choose from. Especially you might see one that you like. So if you don't want your level 2 mini connections or whatever, Ace Pilot, you can swap it out for that one.
I mean, the pilot may or may not come into play. I have no idea, but I'm just gonna stick with it for now.
Okay. If you keep it, I'll make it come and play. Don't you worry.
Okay. All right.
I just sticked with the naturalist level 2 one, which is, oh my god, I found it. Hold up, I got it. Nature Shroud, which is really fun.
Yeah, I believe that one is the one that gives you an automatic 4 covert success that you can choose instead of rolling it. And then you can get a bonus to your attack, I believe. And you can grasp the target.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Isn't that fun?
Plus judgment and damage, and grasp the target for 2 rounds if they don't see me.
And it's whenever you're in shadows or in nature. So when you're in nature, you can freely do it anytime you want. Otherwise, you can just quickly duck into a shadow like a good old vampire with your cloak pulled up and just vanish. You can't see me, and now you're rooting. Exactly.
Oh, this is
Isn't that fun?
I love this. This is great. I've also have chosen.
There's a reason I trademarked our company slogan as "This is going to be fun," because it really is. Plus, you get a cute little companion animal. What are you going to have? You're going to have like a little bat that follows you?
No, I'm not going. I'm thinking a little snow fox.
Oh, I love snow foxes. They're the best.
Yeah.
So the exiled glow or crystallized thing, that's something that's always visible, or
yes?
Okay.
So they always have a eerie glow to them. Now it's not a glow that lights up an area. It's more of a like intimidating aura, basically. It just kind of scares people.
Like if they like make direct eye contact, they just kind of see the glow.
Yeah, I designed it so that it doesn't hinder your covert, but it does give some negative effects every now and then. Makes people scared of you, because you're a ghost.
Why would that be scary? That was one of the other reasons I did the Exiled as well, because it is spooky season. So
yeah, it's fair. It's fair. Plus, they're just fun. Exiled are such a fun character to play. I love using them to bring in people who only ever play other systems. I often use it to where, if they had a character that died in another system, I bring them back in this one using the Exiled ability. So I once brought over an entire D&D party who they were so sad that their party got TPK'd. And that was so much fun, just having them all as ghosts, now having to deal with a sci-fi fantasy world instead of pure fantasy. And man, once that barbarian picked up a chain blade, he was the happiest person in the world.
That's amazing.
Oh.
Yeah, Exiled are one of my favorite, just because you get to bring even outside classes over, or outside characters.
I think you put that like in one of the little notes or examples somewhere early on too.
Yeah.
Because I remember reading something about that little, not that story exactly, but that, like bringing a character from another system in.
Yep, literally in chapter 1, because I want people to be able to think about that. Like, oh, I can bring a character in, huh? Again, another way I like to be inclusive. It's a great way if people are like more intimidated with sci-fi stuff to get them interested in it. To be like, hey, you can bring in a fantasy character. Like, this has been fun. I love these like session 0 creation character things. I love seeing what everybody makes because everybody is so creative with their different characters. I've never had someone make the same character that I've talked to, like between different people. Like, even if you build the exact same way as someone else, I'm like, you're still incredibly different. The only person I've ever had build the same character is one of my friends who plays in my Sunday group. She always plays the same character regardless of the campaign, and it's hilarious because we just have this long running joke that he's just it's his multiverse. Like, the story's always centered on him. It just depends on which multiverse we're in. Some good rolls you're getting there. You're getting all your luck out.
Yeah. For once, I know. But for once, Roll20 likes me. So,
knock on wood that it stays that way.
It won't.
It won't.
Don't worry. It'll hate me more than it hates you. Don't worry.
I'm seeing some more parallels here between you and Don now with the Roll20.
It's the GM's curse. It's like, oh yeah, I'm gonna kill this character. Finally, put some threat in my campaign. Oh, never mind. Or, man, I really hope I roll bad because I do not want to kill this person. Oh, well, guess they're dead.
Yep. That's happened to me more than often, right, George?
Hi, how are you? Don's killed me a few times.
Nice.
But I'm also the complete opposite when it comes to when I GM. Jeff can attest to this. I had a simple. It was supposed to be a very simple, encounter, and the bard couldn't get a spell off because I kept rolling nat 20s on wisdom saves.
Oh, that's unfortunate.
But as Murphy's Law or whatever else you want to call it goes, I was GMing a game with George's playing, and I had to make a strength saving throw. DC was like 14 or 15. I rolled a nat 20, but the creature had a -5 strength, so it was a nat 20 for a total of 15 to make the saving throw still.
Yep. That was great.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
It was so funny.
I love tabletop games. It's just like the stories that they create is just the absolute best.
Oh yeah. Don't get that anywhere else.
Oh, we've already almost been streaming for 2 hours. Time goes by way too quickly when you're having fun.
That's true.
But hey, we pretty much have the characters ready for the next time.
That's for sure.
Oh, it goes by fast when you're drinking rum.
I mean, that's also accurate.
So how you doing over there, Don?
Oh, good. I'm just wrapping up some stuff.
Okay. I have
nice
weapons taken care of.
Well, we built characters pretty quickly, especially considering the varying degree of preparedness, or not preparedness, but familiarity, I guess, with the rules.
The only thing
you guys seem to be having a lot of fun building too. So, that's always my favorite thing to see.
The only thing I really have to do left is I have to go look at the monsters and go pick some summons.
Oh yes,
just so I can get those prepared and not just go through this bullshit now.
Thankfully, it's fairly organized, and most beasts and stuff like that, beast tokens, are under the beast or Adareth section. So
yep.
Well, I think while George is doing that, while Don's finishing up, you can maybe set the scene for where we're going to be, Trevor. Just kind of give everybody an idea of where we're playing and starting and all that.
Yes. So, it's perfect because based on all of your stories that you've told me so far, I've worked the idea around it a little bit more. But for simplicity's sake, we're going to say that you guys have been adventuring together for a little bit, just because we don't want to do the intro scene. That takes a lot of time. But yeah, so we're going to be adventurers for hire, hired by the Star Council on a very important mission. In fact, recently throughout the entire galaxy, a large shockwave was felt to where every single planet within Star Council control actually felt this wave, which isn't good. After a bit of determining where its origin actually is, it is right on the edge of the exiled sector and the Star Council control where they meet. Upon further inspection with a few of the base droids that they've used, some of the information droids to go check out there, they've been reporting back a strange ship that's returned. An old, archaic, derelict spaceship, appearing in a huge flash, leaving this massive scar into the veil behind it as these like golds and yellows flow out. And behind this, almost what looks like an open portal, is a realm of sepia tone. And you see large shadowy creatures walking in the background, creatures of mammoth size. More concerning, this starship is giving off minor energy readings, and even more concerning, this is a ship from 2,000 years ago that disappeared when the shadow scar was first entering into our world. This was a station that held roughly about 2 million people, that was consumed at the center of the blast, which, as you can see on our little map that we have there, the shadow scar is this huge devastational field that is, you can't really go into it unless you want to go into the realm of shadow and probably be lost for all eternity. But yeah, the droids came back with these reports. You all were one of the groups that were hired to, kind of on a hush-hush scenario, you kind of get the idea that you were hired because you're expendable.
I was not expendable. This was a direct mission from His Highness.
Yeah, absolutely, yes, you're right. Completely, the Highness recommended you to everyone on the council.
Don't say that word in a French accent.
But yeah, so you've been given a brief documentations about what to expect, but they don't honestly know much. Many of the ships that they've sent there have been malfunctioning because the rift into the void is actually consuming a lot of electricity. However, they are sending you on a state-of-the-art starship in order to get there, one that has anti-realmic features that should be able to push back much of the shadow distortion and allow you to adventure into the starship, or into the star station itself. So you've all been equipped with quite a few things, actually, that they're going to be giving you. They're going to be giving you an updated environmental suit, which it's environmental suits in this game. They basically just activate whenever you don't have to be wearing anything special. It just basically gives you an atmosphere. But these highly advanced suits come with an artificial intelligence that actually examines the area around you and adjusts its reality distortion field to help you better examine what's in here. So you're not going to be randomly just teleporting into the shadow realm.
Well, that's a bonus.
Yes.
Find name Sheila.
Most likely. But yeah, so they're sending you in. Your mission is recon, and potentially if any of you figure out a way to shut down whatever may be producing this field, but the biggest thing is to gather resource and reconnaissance. They have said anything aboard the ship is yours to gather if you can make it out of there alive. So don't worry about taking anything. Additionally, if you do find a way to shut this thing down, they've promised each one of you a payout of 5 million credits apiece, which is typically a good reason for people to risk their lives. That's a lot of money that people end up wanting.
Buy a small planet.
Yes. You do know that there's been 20 other crews, well, including you, 20 crews that have been sent here. They've also informed you that there was a science vessel that was sent here that they haven't heard back from. So if you can maybe potentially come across them as you'll be going to the same docking area, that'd be great. But again, they said mainly reconnaissance. If the option is you're going to die, you're free to leave. Granted, you don't get paid anything if you don't come back with anything. But
so are all the 20 different teams? Is there like separate ships, or are we all going?
Yes, so separate ships. They're all going to different docking bays to try to get as much because this is a large station.
Yes, the Royal Fleet is joining us for this mission.
Yes. In fact, you can probably see the station right there, actually, which is why I have it in the back. And then that is the large rip into the Shadow Realm there. You'll be going into.
I did mean to ask earlier, and I just got sidetracked by all the options. But I was wondering if that was artwork for the game itself.
That is the scene we're going into. So
can we be Crew 13?
Sure. Yeah, you're welcome to Crew 13. I'm sure that'll turn out great.
Yeah, nothing could go wrong.
But yes, so you've been given, you guys all have a advanced AI that goes by the name of Eli, the electronic learning intelligence. You can ask basic information from it. It is an artificial intelligence, so it does learn, and it does act much like a human would. So it can learn or help you out and assist in many situations. It's also going to give anybody who tries to do programming checks, it'll give you 2 auto hit dice with your programming check as well. And it'll also give you guys basic communications. They're trying to basically prepare you guys as best they can, as they don't really want to destroy the ship. It's kind of interesting as to why after 2,000 years, 1, this is still running. 2, it's now here, and what's going to happen? So yeah, you guys are basically the canaries who's sending you in first.
Yes, the canaries in the coal mine.
Yeah, that's even more fitting because you have someone that's already died.
Yep,
someone that's a fungus essentially.
Exactly,
and someone that's
people.
A vampire.
Yeah,
exactly.
But I took the expertise alternate form, so I just look like a technician half the time.
I love that.
So like I'm just this maintenance tech that ended up on the ship.
That's amazing. I love that so much. I love the alternate appearance expertise because it gives you so many fun options you can do with it.
And he was quiet for too long. I knew he was doing something.
Something came out.
Yeah, I burned through all those expertise real quick.
Oh yeah, there's so many fun ones. But yeah, so that's the base thing. You guys are going to be starting our scene next time that we play with aboard this highly advanced starship.
So, question under the mimic for the gear reflection shards. What are those classified as?
So they are weapons.
Okay. Sure.
In the equipment section, it actually tells you what they do.
Okay, gotcha.
They're really cool because you can actually use those. If you toss them at someone, you can cause the confusion condition, which makes it so that the person has to attack the closest person. So it's really entertaining, whether it's ally or enemy.
That's amazing. All right.
But yeah, so I thought that would be a fun little idea to send you all on your first little trip. A good amount of sci-fi, but also that good fantasy elements in there too. So
good Event Horizon theme
going
on here.
I do love Event Horizon, so I always throw a lot of that in there. But yeah, I get to talk a little bit about one of my favorite places, which is the Shadow Scar. And the Shadow Realm itself is so cool in the lore because it's basically, if you go to that realm, everything is made of shadows. So like the buildings look like shadows of the echoed world that you're currently in. So like it mirrors the reality that you're walking in. So like you see shadowed buildings, but as you approach them, where they did look like they were standing up, they slowly begin to go to the ground as if they become a shadow. And anything you approach does that itself, and it's like a very sepia toned world. The only negative is that if you're not a shadow creature, after staying within that realm for about 15 minutes, creatures begin to hunt you.
Makes sense, you know.
So yeah,
stuff of nightmares, you know. It's it's fine.
Yeah.
So 3D people walking in a 2D world, kind of.
Yes. Yep. Which is so cool, in my opinion, at least. I love that idea.
That's cool.
I really enjoy the Shadow
It is
Realm.
Cool. You know, I was only half joking. I said stuff of nightmares. You know.
Oh no, it definitely is stuff of nightmares. Don't you worry. There's literally a shadow creature that takes on the form of a 4-armed scarecrow. And it's this massive, about 15 feet tall, that sits in these fields holding up lanterns and massive scythes. And after it begins to detect you, it like slowly starts, you don't see it either until it can fully manifest itself, but you start hearing these creaking wherever you go, this as it begins to follow you around until it can fully manifest itself and then tries to kill you.
That just kept getting worse. Like, it was bad enough with the 15-foot tall scarecrow, and then it just kept getting worse.
Yeah, the Shadow Realm's great. I thought it would be perfect for Spooky Month.
Spooky Month!
You're not wrong. Oh, man.
So yeah, I think it'll be fun. I think you guys will have a blast.
I'm looking forward to it. I think we gotta see if we can shuffle some things around. But what we might do is, instead of doing since we can't really do part 2 next week with Dawn, we might try and move it to the 19th.
Okay.
That Wednesday. We'll reach out and tell everybody for sure once we figure that out. But that's tentatively what we're looking at right now. Just everybody who's watching this live or later on, just stay tuned to the Twitter, either of us, and we'll have an update on what's happening next week and what's happening the following week.
Yes,
absolutely.
So, George, Don, any other questions we can think about right now as far as character creation is concerned?
No, all in all, it's pretty straightforward. I mean, there's definitely a lot of information, but it doesn't overwhelm you, which I was actually really surprised with. Because while I've been honestly quiet, I'm like 95% the way done with this. I just need to roll up some money and buy gear, and I think I'm done.
Yeah. Perfect.
Yeah, that's what I mean, yeah, it wasn't tough. It was just one of the things I was doing is like copy and pasting a lot of the abilities, so I had them as notes, so I didn't have to reference them, and that was what a lot of my time was being taken up doing.
I'll probably, in my downtime between that, do that and update my sheet a little bit for that as well. But one of the things is there's a lot of pages here, like we said earlier in the beginning, but it's not complicated.
No, it's concise, which is important.
And that's one of the things that a lot of the main game developers, the big names out there, as we talked about earlier, like being concise, making things easy to read, having just the references to where you can find things quickly makes it, there's a lot of choices here, but it's easy to sort through them. And if you you've also presented, you can customize the classes by, instead of taking something from your class at level up, you can jump to another class, which gives people who are used to it or want to take the time or have that energy the ability to pull from everything else. But if you don't want to do that, you can stick to your class. You can stick to your class. Exactly. It's there for you. You don't have to choose.
Yep.
And that's kind of like a best of both worlds to me, because
I tried so hard.
There's a new person and there's too many options. There it is. Just start here. It's right there for you. Don't got to worry about it. But if you've played before or you like having the options, it's there. You can find it really quickly, and it's not, you're not having to sort through, going from chapter 5 to chapter 10 to find what this does.
Yeah, like I said, organization was a huge factor that I put into this game, because my least favorite thing of reading all those almost 200 rule books was, where am I going in each one of these rule books?
Well, yeah,
I just want to know how to roll a check.
Yeah, and a lot of them are written like almost like vehicle reference manuals. So you're like,
Yeah. Oh,
and
man.
that's like a skill set you have to learn, like
Yeah.
a specific skill set you have to learn
Yeah.
to get used to those kinds of books.
Mhm.
And
I
it
tried to write
sucks.
this one like I was talking to you.
Exactly, and that's
Yeah.
what more people need to do, to be honest.
And you did a really good job with this. I am
Yeah,
very thoroughly impressed. I'm going to be
Yay.
honest. When I first saw the page count, when I got it, I was like, oh no, nope. This is
there's no way we're going to be able to pull this off.
We're not going to be able to pull this off. This is going to take too long. This is not going to be something we can do in this this format we've done like so far with this. But has this taken longer than the other ones we've done? Yes. But do I feel like we're behind schedule or like we're going to be losing time or be like way out of whack with it? No. And it wasn't. It's not as much as it seems like it will be, and all you have to do is start reading it to see that. Like, don't just look at the number and be like, "Ooh, that's too much." Just like give it a chance, read through it, and it's an easy, quick read, and you can really get started without having to have done the deep dive like Don and George have done. Because I think at this point Don may have read more than I've read now, because I've only really dived into the decisions I made.
Yeah.
Which is all you really need to dive into.
Yeah, exactly. And so like our plan about like spreading this out a little bit to show different ways and different approaches and that it still works out has done that. And that is a credit to you and your editor about how you've put this together. Like, I don't know much about what Don's chosen and what George has chosen, but I know more about what I've chosen, and that's all I need to get started with, and I can play with that. I don't have to have that other information.
Yeah, exactly. That's how I tried to design it.
And yeah, you nailed it. And like, I don't want to use the word surprise.
No,
but
Phil,
like I said,
trust me.
Yeah,
don't take offense to that. It is surprising. I understand.
Yeah. And it's kind of like you said. I think just you like Don said, a lot of the other books are read like a technical manual. And if you don't have experience reading and interpreting those, it's a hard read and hard to understand sometimes. And it's a lot easier for someone just to like, okay, here's how this works.
Yeah. And one of the reasons the bigger companies can do that is because they've been around forever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like to be honest, like if games like D&D 2nd edition tried to come out nowadays, it would flop. It would just fall on its face.
THACO, oh no.
Yeah, exactly. But like, yeah, it creates its own barrier to entry, and that's totally unnecessary. And you really do a good job, like outlining how to do it right. That's a good way to put it.
Yeah, that's what I really tried. Because like I said, inclusivity, accessibility. I want everybody to be able to play, and one of my favorite things was the fact that I donated some of these books to a school, and some of the 5th graders were able to understand it and play the game. So I was like, well, perfect.
Beautiful. Like on multiple fronts. Like, first, donate to a school, give some kids a chance to play something, do something that's enriching, and second of all, it was easy enough for them to understand, which just shows you. And also something that's kind of depressing here a little bit, but I just recently found out the average American only has a 4th grade reading and comprehension level anyway.
Really?
Mm-hmm. It's bad.
Well, I'm glad I put my thing through the system to make sure that you could read it at a 3rd grade level.
Well, yeah, and I mean a lot of that has to do with like the entire like what do you
school system?
Yeah, the entire theater of how the education system is designed.
Oh yeah. Remember how at the beginning I said that I hate school?
Yep.
Well, I mean, there's a lot of issues I have
when
with
you're
not the
paying,
teachers and stuff like that, but how it's laid out and like that's a whole topic.
We could definitely talk about that for a while too.
Yeah. That would add another 2 hours easy. So
easy.
Yeah, we'll just dot that.
Yeah. Sounds about it.
Yeah, like in school, Dawn and I were like we were friends. Like we had our friend group. We were really good friends in like junior high and high school, but we had kind of almost opposite academic trajectories.
Mm-hmm.
Dawn didn't think it was worth his time or effort, and I actually tried.
Yep.
And now we're here.
I knew the game was rigged from the start. And when, yeah.
I knew the game was rigged so much I rigged it myself.
Yeah.
Well, I was like, there's lots of ways to get around this. I never read anything.
Yeah. It's just...
It's true.
When you watch people that did perfect academically nosedive in real life, it makes it difficult to really want to pursue that.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I ended up having to jump through the hoops and go into college and all that jazz. And I actually did really, really well in college because it was hard.
It's also it's also a different system in general.
Yeah.
So the only thing we didn't really touch on yet much with this that I want to give a chance to talk to a little bit before we wrap up is George, I'm putting you on the spot. I apologize. I didn't prep you for this. But you're the only one well, I don't know, maybe Don has two, but I don't think he had two for the Mimic. But you're the only one that has kind of read through like some of the spells and stuff.
Yeah. I have one spell.
Okay, Don has one spell, so Don can kind of choose two, but the readability, understandability of the spells and what they do and how you can use them and all that, how does that flow for you guys when you're doing that?
It makes so much sense. It is straightforward. It tells you exactly what the spell does. It tells you, here's a little bit of flavor text about what happens when you cast said spell, but here is exactly what happens, and not
some vague wording that's open to interpretation sometimes.
Yes. Yes, I love magic, but I wanted to make sure that everybody can love magic. So I tried very hard. And what's fun too is they're all separated by colored lines, so you know what they belong to. But here's the fun thing: those colors match the backing on the spell cards too, so you can easily reference every spell card and where it's located in the book as well. So
and you said the spell cards are part of the next Kickstarter, is that correct?
Yes, we had some for the previous Kickstarter, but they're very expensive to print, so I can't really print any right now. But once the next Kickstarter comes in, I'm working that in so that we can get both expansions, so you just purchase them at one price, because I really like to be price friendly to people. Because I could have separated my core rulebook into a GM's guide but I was like, I want to give everybody everything, so that you can literally only need one book for $50, so you can run the game and play the game and homebrew the game and everything. So Yggdrasil has some spells that we're adding, some really unique, like different spells. So I wanted to make sure those all go in one deck as well, so that as a GM, all you have to spend is like $120 if you want to, and you'll get spell cards, expansion, and the core rulebook. So that's the hope.
Not gonna lie, I'm already tempted whenever this is gonna start to take a look myself. Just as...
my wallet already hurt.
Yggdrasil's going to be great. So Yggdrasil, my co-author actually wrote this one, and it's like heavy space Norse themed. So like we have Vikings in space. We have, you can play as one of the gods, basically, as a godling species, or you can play as an Ettin and bring about Ragnarok. There's tons of new ancestral paths for each of the core rulebook species. So like, based on Norse mythology, different themes of that. But this one's going to be about 400 pages of excess content. And that's why it's an expansion. We wanted to give you so much stuff to the point where we even have something I've never seen in any other tabletop game. We have combo abilities. So if you play a field knight and you play with your friend who's a Thaumatek long enough, you guys can get this unique combo ability that you both can do in combat or out of combat. And it's a unique, fun way to encourage party working together. So we're gonna have all those.
Intrigued.
Yes,
I am very intrigued by that, because I like that concept.
Yeah, then we're adding an insane amount of new monsters. The only thing I have to warn people about, this is basically Veil of the Void meets Dark Souls, because every monster can kill you in this game. Because in Reforged, I wanted to at least give people chances, especially if they're newer GMs. I don't want them to feel bad if they accidentally kill someone, because the monster was too strong. But Yggdrasil's like that beautiful, like, you know, meat and potatoes. Like, it's there. You get all this juicy content that we didn't get to put in the core rulebook, and it's only something you want to go into after you've had the appetizer of Reforged, so that you know what you're doing. But then you get like all this content that you just get to do insane stuff with. I'm very excited for it.
Oh,
We almost have the test demo ready. We should have it in about a month and a half, is what we're trying to shoot for. So,
all right. Well, I think we're gonna wrap up for today. Do you have any idea when that next Kickstarter might be hitting?
We're trying to shoot for April next year.
Okay.
April or May. We have to see on how some of the artwork lines up, because we want to try to get a good amount of art, and I want to get some voice actors hired to do like a nice like still trailer, so that we can have like a cool opening and, you know, building upon Yggdrasil's lore, because a lot of the lore actually a huge portion of the lore in Yggdrasil actually refers to the lore in the core rulebook too, and you get to see like, wait, you compare the two and you're like, so that's what that was. It's like, so yeah, we're really excited to kind of expand upon the narrative of the universe. So hopefully I can get all that done before April, but we'll see. Yeah,
I feel that. I'm actually working on my own side project, and yeah, it's
so much time.
Yep.
Yeah, so we just wanted to get that little plug for the Kickstarter in case, you know, you were closer than we thought, but I'm definitely gonna be keeping an eye out for that. So
yeah.
But yeah, just go ahead if you want to give them just another quick rundown, who you are, where to find you, where to find the game and everything before we log off here.
So yeah, I'm Trever again. I'm the creator of Veil of the Void, of course. You can find all of our links on linktree/Veil of the Void, exactly how it sounds, or to sdgcreatives.com. And even more fun, because I always love doing this with all those wonderful individuals such as yourself who always invite me to interview or one shot. I added good games as a code, and you get 15% off your purchase. So if you go do that for anything that you put in your cart, you can get 15% off.
All right, I'm gonna have to remember that when we're getting ready for this next one too. Just out there.
Yes,
but yeah,
because the hardback book is really worth it. Like, I'm not just saying that because I like the hardback book, but like the paper feels like you're reading through an old tome, and I can't tell you how many printers I went through until I was like, oh, good, I'm finally happy with the paper.
Oh man,
that's gonna have to be
had
added.
To say that, didn't you?
That's gonna have to be added to my library.
And I personally ship them all as well. So I sign them before I ship them and get them all nice and wrapped up in a safe protector so that you don't get it, you know, incorrectly. I don't want anything to come to you damaged.
Yeah, for personal touch and extra protection. I dig it. But
yes.
Thanks for joining us, Trevor. We're obviously gonna see you again.
Yep.
Yeah, and you know, maybe even down the line again in the future, farther down the road when there's some new stuff to go over. But
yeah, I'll have to bring Noble, the one who made Yggdrasil, whenever we do that. So
yeah, definitely, like
for
totally.
Sure.
We have no problems with that. But yeah, we'll tune in for part 2 of that, or part 2 of this, I mean, where we actually get into the plane and see what happens to our interesting crew we've assembled here. And stay tuned to Twitter and the Twitch here for updates on to when exactly that's happening. Like I said, tentatively, we're looking at 2 weeks out, but we'll have to confirm with everybody else and schedules to make that happen for sure. But for now, everybody, thanks for joining us for this, whether it's live or on the VOD, and we hope we see you next time.
Yep, absolutely. Stay legendary, folks.